Hi everybody. The next topic we are talking about is quick breads. So what are quick breads? Quick breads are a classification for a type of bread which is leavened with a leavening agent other than yeast. A leavening agent is a product that makes things rise. So some examples of quick bread you'll see here are fruit and nut breads like banana breads or zucchini breads, griddlecakes or pancakes, muffins, scones, or biscuits, crepes, and scones are all examples of a quick bread. Ingredients in quick bread. The ingredients in quick breads are the same basic ingredients in many of baking items. So we have flour, eggs, fat, sweetener, salt, leavening agents, liquid, and flavoring, which are things like extracts, spices, fruits, nuts, seeds, flavored chips like chocolate chips or vanilla chips, and even vegetables like zucchini or carrots. So what are the functions of ingredients? This is a learning target to understand and be able to describe what each of these ingredients does in a quick bread. So the first is flour. Flour provides the main structure. Without flour, your product wouldn't kind of stick together. It would be flat. It wouldn't have any structure. Eggs are the next one. Eggs provides a binding agent, and they also help to add volume to make things puffy. Remember when you're using eggs to always crack an egg into a separate bowl first. Eggs also add moisture, and again, they also help to keep everything together and provide some structure. When we look at things like a popover, the egg is what provides a lot of the structure as well. Then we have fat. Most common fats are butter and oil, and fat helps to retain moisture, and it helps to stop the gluten from overdeveloping. Remember again, the gluten is the main structure for the protein in flour. Fat also leads to tenderness and helps aid in freshness. Sweeteners is our next one. Sweeteners are any type of sweetener. Sugar, honey are the most common. They add flavor, and they also lend to color. When sugar cooks, it browns, which is caramelization. Then we have salt. The only purpose in quick breads and in baking of salt is to enhance flavor. The only time you ever truly need salt in a recipe is when you're using yeast. But because these are quick breads, we're not using yeast, therefore salt is just used for flavor. Then we have liquids. The most common liquid used is milk, and it's moisture to help develop the gluten, which again is the protein in flour. This also adds flavor. Next is our leavening agents. Again, leavening is a substance used in doughs or batters to make them rise, leavening. We have chemical leavening agents. The two most common are baking soda and our baking powder. So what's the difference between the two? Baking powder is baking soda with an acid added to it. What happens during the baking process is that we need carbon dioxide to release, and that gas helps make things rise. It causes air bubbles. So those are the chemical leavening agents that we use. Other leavening agents in quick breads are things like beating eggs in cream puffs. That helps cream puffs rise. And steam. When you cook things, any liquid under hot heat, it creates steam. That steam causes things to puff up and rise. So there's a couple of classifications of quick breads that you need to know. So how are quick breads classified? They're classified by the type of quick bread and the consistency. So the ratio of the liquid to dry ingredients. And then they're classified by the method of preparing. So we have three classifications: pour batter, drop batter, and soft doughs is what we're going to talk about. So a pour batter is something like waffles or crepes, 1-to-1 ratio of liquid to dry ingredients. Drop batter is a little stiffer. If you think about some of the cookies that we made, those were drop batters, right? Muffins are another example. And then a soft dough is something that actually is pliable, that we can roll and then we cut it into shapes prior to baking. And the example of those are biscuits and scones. So there's 3 mixing methods that you need to know for quick breads. You need to know how it's done, and you need to know for what type of item. So the first method is called the biscuit method, and this is for our soft doughs, obviously for biscuits. It requires a process called cutting fat into the dry ingredients. Then you add the liquid, and then the product is either kneaded and or rolled out. And this helps to produce those layers of flakiness. Then we have what's called the blended or muffin method. This is commonly used for pour and drop batters. So with this method, you basically combine all your dry ingredients in one bowl, you combine all your liquid ingredients in another, then you add the liquid to the dry. The key with any of these mixing methods is not to overmix. And then the last method is something that you've already done as well when you made cookies. It's called the creaming method. This is commonly used for drop batters. So what happens is you cream the fat and the sugar together first. That aerates the fat. Then you mix all of the dry ingredients in another bowl, and then you add that to the creamed fat sugar compound, and then you add any of the remaining ingredients. So those are the 3 methods for mixing. When we do our griddle cakes, our crepes, and our pancakes, you're going to be using the blending or muffin method of mixing. Again, you have to be careful not to overmix, because overmixing makes the product tough, flat, and rubbery. We don't want that in quick breads. So quality biscuits, here's the appearance. High volume, color is golden, texture is light and tender and flaky, and the flavoring is pleasing and delicate. So that's what makes a quality biscuit, and you can see the examples. Overmixed biscuits will look like this. You notice it's a smooth appearance, it didn't brown very well, it didn't raise, and they were quite tough. Quality scones are an example here. So we have kind of a crust on the outside. The inside is much like that of a muffin, but the outside is more of a crust. So those are examples of quality scones. Then we have quality griddle cakes. Again, our griddle cakes are things like our waffles, pancakes, and crepes. Quality griddle cakes will have a good color, right? Golden brown. They'll be nice and tender and light. They'll be moist, and the flavor will be rich and full. You guys are going to be making pancakes, and here's the demo video for that you will need to watch. ATK is America's Test Kitchen. And then there's also a crepes demo video. Okay, quality muffins and loaf breads. Quality muffins should have a rounded top appearance. They should also be uniform in size. The color should be golden. The texture should have an even grain and no tunnels or like what looks like wormholes in the middle. Overmixed quick breads will look like this. If you notice here, these are the tunnels that arrive. It's more peaked at the top. This one is definitely peaked, and that will give it a rubbery texture. So tips for preparing quality quick breads. As with every quality baked product, measuring carefully, understanding how to measure flour, liquids, and small amounts accurately. Mix properly, use the proper mixing method, and don't overmix. Follow the recipe. Follow all the steps, follow the time, follow the temperature that it states in the recipe. And correctly prepare the pans, whether it's greasing or preheating or lining. All of those things are tips to prepare these quality quick breads. Now, equipment that's used most often in quick breads, we have our muffin pan, we have muffin liners, we have a pastry blender, loaf pans, an electric griddle, an electric crepe maker, and a waffle maker. So mise en place, for your lab, you need to, before you come to class, read the recipe, annotate the recipe, complete a timed work plan, Divide the tasks with your partner so that you know who's doing what. Read the recipe again, ask questions, and be ready to go when class starts. Remember, mise en place is everything in its place, so you should have everything out and measured before you start mixing things together. Then during lab, gather all of your tools. Remember a dump bowl. A dump bowl is used for garbage at your station, so you don't have to walk anywhere. Measure out all ingredients and bring those back to your stations. Complete any pre-prep steps. Pre-prep steps are things like greasing pans, preheating ovens, lining pans. If you were making a carrot bread or a zucchini cake or whatever, you would need to shred those things. That's all pre-prep steps. Anything you have to do to prepare the ingredients or what you're baking it in before you put it together. Then follow the recipe. Clean up as you go, remembering to scrape, rinse, and pre-scrub any dishes as needed, and then make sure you're correctly loading dish trays. So that's that. That's your quick breads. So again, quick breads are called quick breads because they're prepared relatively fast. Sometimes they take a long time to bake, like banana bread takes quite a long time to bake, almost an hour, but it takes about 5 minutes to put banana bread together. So quick breads are called quick breads because they're leavened with other agents other than yeast. Okay, there's no yeast in a quick bread. The two most common leavening agents are baking powder and baking soda. Remember, there's the 3 mixing methods: the blending, the creaming, and the muffin method. You need to know those. And the biscuit method, excuse me, sorry about that. The biscuit, the blending, and the creaming method are the 3 methods that you need to know and be able to list the steps to making quick breads. So I hope this helps. See you soon.